It set up a race war.
It set up a religious war. It opened the door for the United States to attack anybody it deemed was harboring terrorists.
Internationally or domestically. And what did W say? You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. And 9/11 instilled in us the basest of all fears. Any time, any day, any place, an airplane, tall building, subway, shopping mall, grocery store, local newsstand, chemical, biological, nuclear, doesn't matter. 9/11 could happen again. And guess what? It will happen again. It's inevitable. This is a lifelong battle.
In this corner, you have the United States, the shining example of freedom, peace, and goodwill.
And in the other corner, you have Al-Qaeda, dirty, bearded, hate-mongering terrorists.
The whole thing's a setup. It's a show. It's theater. It distracts all of us from what's really going on. The systematic destruction of national sovereignty all across the world.
That is preposterous.
What's easier to believe? When Al-Qaeda is a vicious terrorist organization bent on annihilating all freedom and peace in the world? Or it's a cartel whose sole purpose is to ensure the safety of the heroin trade out of the Middle East? That is a real tough one. I'm gonna go with option A. They are Islamic fundamentalists. They flew fucking planes into the World fucking Trade Center. Okay? They killed some 3,000 infidels along with themselves because Allah told them it was a smart thing to do. If I were to tell you that a man habitually does cocaine, frequents strip clubs and escort services, would you believe he were A, a drug runner, or B, an Islamic fundamentalist? That's obvious. What is your fucking point? The man I am referring to is Mohammed Atta. Mohammed Atta did cocaine. Mohammed Atta was seen doing cocaine several times before 9/11. And what's more, Atta isn't seen doing this all by himself. Often, Rudy Deckers is with him, the guy who runs the flight school. Islamic fundamentalism strictly forbids the ingestion of any unnatural drug, and it firmly teaches that treating women as objects of desire is a sin. So if Mohammed Atta is already committing sins, he ain't going to paradise to see Allah, that's for sure. So why would he then take his own life in a terrorist attack? If you can conclude that Mohammed Atta did not fly one of those planes into the World Trade Center, then you must conclude something else happened on 9/11. You're right. And that begs the question, what really happened on 9/11? War and drugs are the biggest businesses in the world. They are tools to amass the greatest fear and exercise the mightiest control. Control over the mind. They wave the flag of war, proposing to wield the ultimate power in places afar, using 9/11 as a fucking bargaining chip. Support this war, or you're gonna get attacked again. Bow down on unconstitutional security measures, otherwise the guy sitting next to you, he might blow you up. Allow us to attack our enemies before they attack us, otherwise all freedom is lost. It's a protection racket. All the government is the mob. And their greatest crime is profiting from acts of war. And everybody's in on it. Defense contractors manufacture weapons for use during war, while supporting and financing political candidates who will go to war.
The government that buys weapons from these companies in the event of a war.
Now, with war crippling to most economies, nations must then borrow money and go into debt.
And all that money goes right up to the top of the food chain, to the banks, which is where it came from in the first place.
Only now there's a difference.
Because the money lent now has an insane amount of interest attached to it.
More than most nations can afford to pay off.
And then the cycle repeats itself. No one ever wonders where the national debt comes from. Who loans countries the trillions of dollars it takes to fund the national budget? Is it us? Is it the people? If that's true, then the government owes us $7 trillion. It's not us. We didn't give them $7 trillion. There are only 250 billion Federal Reserve notes in circulation. Where the fuck does all this money come from? From banks. From private multinational institutions that can exert immense power from behind the scenes. The kind of clout gained from having every person, state, province, and nation in debt to you. By controlling all money in the world, you can control all people in the world. And the more war there is, the more money there is. Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, the SAIC, Carlyle Group, the list goes on. Every single one of these companies makes its living off of the misery of others, and to them, it's just business as usual. These companies even arm our enemies before we fight them. They can even control people with the threat of war, and when a tragedy strikes, when the nation is in mourning, when we are at our most vulnerable state, what do they tell us to do? Shop. They tell us to spend money. Trying to make a quick buck off of grieving people. It's not capitalism. It's not consumerism. It's not even corporatism. You know what it is? It is corporate fundamentalism. All these people know how to do is bring everything to market. The banks, the corporations, the government, the elite. They use poverty to marginalize the rest of the world.
The upper 1%. Well, they tell us there are minorities. Blacks, Latinos, Asians.
The only minority that counts is the upper 1%. The rest of us are just slaves. Slaves to the dollar, slaves to the elite, slaves to their dogma.
And dogma is so powerful because as soon as you believe it, you become afraid of its opposite.
It's divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. And they do more than just that. They brainwash us in other ways. Just think back to 9/11. Think back to how confused and helpless we all were. Over and over and over and over, the TV just kept showing the replays. The towers kept falling. Patients suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder will often face a recurring trauma. In this state, scientists have proven that the human mind is very susceptible to suggestion. These people will believe anything you tell them. We all incurred a major trauma on 9/11. They could have told us that fucking UFOs piloted those planes into the Twin Towers, and on 9/11, we would have believed them because we just needed it to stop. We just needed to point the finger at someone and say they are responsible, and because we needed to know our government could protect us.
It was PTSD on a national scale. All the images, the rhetoric, patriotic American themes. It has all hijacked our minds.
Senator Johnson said in 1917, the first casualty when war comes is the truth.
And what are we going to do about that?